All right, welcome to Foxhole Film for May 17, 2012. This is our first, our video Foxhole Film, and it will be on YouTube, but you can certainly just start it and then switch to another tab so you don't actually have to look at us while you're listening to the episode.
Why you would want to do that, though, that's hard to understand.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking for Eric.
Thank you.
My name is
I'm
Todd
hideous.
Hamilton. I'm here with Francisco Monzo Flores.
Hello, everybody.
And Eric Hand, a.k.a. King MC.
What's up?
And, all right, so should we get started?
Let's do it.
Cisco, do you have some news?
I do have some news, although I have to admit this week seemed to be a little bit dry on the news side. I actually dug in a few weeks back. Hey, yo. But, yeah, it seems like there's not much going on that seemed exciting to me. There's a lot of crap going on out there. But I did find out that they are going to be remaking Oliver Twist. They're doing an adaptation that's called Twist. I think that's one of the working names right now. With a twist, get it?
M. Night Shyamalan directing?
That would be totally sad. But no, they're actually going to be doing it with parkour. So I guess they're going to have a lot of free running on this. And
that is twisting.
Quite literally. So their idea is essentially to take the whole Dickens story, and they're going to add in the parkour aspect to it. They're going to do art heists and something like that, and then make it 3D. And it's kind of bewildering. It's a bit strange. It seems like the whole idea of the parkour stuff was big back with like District 9 and those movies back in the early 90s. So it seems like this might be a little bit late. But,
you mean District B13 or something, right?
Yes, we saw that. Didn't we review that in one of the earlier episodes?
I think so.
Yeah.
District 9 was about aliens.
Yeah, different parkour.
Yeah, way different parkour.
Outer space parkour.
That's right.
That's hardcore parkour.
Okay, so...
that's the free rhyme for you guys, so...
Thank you. I'm glad we didn't have to pay for that. So yeah, I'm not excited for that. So thank you for sharing.
I thought it was a weird news. It was not necessarily exciting. And like I said, I did say this was a very slow week in news.
Right. Yeah. You clarified. I actually went back to March for some of my news because I had noted something, and we had never had the show going in March. So. There's a movie that came out called Chronicle, which got kind of mixed reviews. Most of the bad stuff I heard about it was that it was based on one of those found footage type things where they have to justify that all the footage in the movie was somehow found some way. Other than that, I think the movie got pretty good reviews. It's called Chronicle. And the guy that wrote and directed it is named Josh Trank. And I guess he is going to be doing the movie adaptation of the comic book The Red Star, which is about this alternate universe in Soviet Russia and mixes kind of magic and stuff like that. It's kind of a cool story. So
I wasn't even aware that they were thinking of doing a movie adaptation of Red Star. When did that come up?
They've been trying to do movies and video games and stuff based on the property for many years, and this has kind of just fallen through the cracks a couple times. But this is the first time I've heard of someone actually being attached to it. So hopefully that means that it's seriously moving forward.
That's kind of cool. I've read the first few comic books on that, and I've enjoyed the story itself. So that should be pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, and this director, I guess, is really good at the whole low-budget special effects. It's very similar to District 9, actually, that we brought up previously.
Right. Very cool. My next set of news is actually tied into the Avengers, which is one of the movies that we're going to talk in later. But they're talking about Iron Man 3 already, so I think it was always planned that they were going to have at least 3 of them for Iron Man, and it was just a matter of time. Favreau obviously is not coming back with this. They had issues with him after the first one. I think they actually considered him to drop him for a while for that second one. So the fact that he's not attached to the third one is not a big deal, or not a big surprise, I should say. It is a big deal.
He did produce the Avengers, though.
He did.
He co-produced.
Yeah. And that was good. I think that he was involved in it was definitely a good thing. But they did announce a casting choice for this. They've talked very briefly about the plot for Iron Man 3. They've talked about the fact that it'll probably have to do something with nanotechnology, how this affects, Iron Man. That should be kind of interesting, considering that he is kind of made for big impact, high action type fighting. So the whole nanotechnology kind of brings in another interesting aspect to it. But James Badge Dale, who was on The Grey and in Shame, has been cast for it as. And I don't know, Eric, maybe you might be able to shed a little bit of light on this because I'm not too familiar with the Iron Man world, but he's supposed to play this guy called Eric Seven. Do you know anything about him?
I know nothing about Iron Man. Sorry.
That's the only reason we brought you in on the show.
I know. Maybe a little heads up next time I could do some research for you.
All right, well, thanks for calling in, Eric. Well,
we could talk about Dark Knight.
So yeah, there's a little bit of news coming out of that. It actually starts shooting pretty soon. I think within the next month. So we should be getting a little bit more insight into that movie within the next few weeks.
Cool. I'm going to do a little TV news. NBC has a movie, or no, has a TV show called Crossbones that is going to start this fall, and it will be based on a book called The Republic of Pirates, and it's based on 1700s piracy, and it's centers around Blackbeard, and it's all about pirates. So
I like pirates.
That's coming up.
We know
this
you
fall.
do.
So hopefully the next movie they announce is all about ninjas.
Maybe.
American Ninja Warrior.
Oh, that's true. NBC is doing that one too, huh?
Yeah.
That's right.
There you go.
So it's
Good.
all even. No need to get
That's
hurt. Also, I wanted to bring up news regarding Asghar Farhadi, and this is a little bit more on the indie side of news because I'm not necessarily sure how many people have or are familiar with this director. He is an Iranian director that I think right now may actually be on exile because of the movie that he did. He did a movie called The Separation, which I believe, or if I remember correctly, might have been his debut film. But it was really highly regarded as a film. But because it kind of spoke out against Iran and the regime, I think it was banned in the country, and I think he was kicked out of the country. I'm not exactly sure on that. But it's been announced that he is now looking at his second project, which is as of now unnamed, but given the success that he had on The Separation, what's her name? Cotillard, Marion Cotillard, I think that's how you pronounce it, who was in a number of big French films, will be attached to it as the main star in this film, which obviously kind of propels him considerably with that kind of name in the cast. So it should be pretty exciting to see. It's supposed to be a thriller with drama elements to it. And as long as, he presents it kind of the way that he did The Separation, which he personally calls this, and this is a quote, he calls it inquiring cinema, in which basically he presents the topics, but rather than provide answers, he is looking to engage the audience with questions and have them figure out answers. And so it's a really intelligent approach to film, which I think garners a little bit of attention.
Did you see a separation?
I actually have it on my queue. I haven't actually gotten to it, but I've heard some really good things about it.
Yeah, I have it as well, and I haven't watched it yet.
So that might actually be a good one to pull out for the next couple of episodes. See if we can do a review on that one.
Yeah, it's a good idea. My final news is, again, TV related. It's actually a lot of the networks have announced which shows are not coming back this fall. Miraculously, Community did make it, so they will be coming back, and they are moving them to Friday, which I don't think is good news, but they are going to get at least 13 episodes for the 4th season.
Friday's not good news?
Well, usually Friday is kind of the graveyard for TV shows. There are not a lot of people tune in on Friday nights.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cancellations on NBC are You There, Chelsea? Which I'm fine with that. Awake. I kept hearing good things about that. I never actually watched it, but that got canceled.
What?
Bent,
oh, man.
Best Friends Forever, Free Agents, The Firm, Harry's Law, and Prime Suspect. On ABC, Cougar Town got canceled, but then it got picked up by TBS. So people that like to watch that can still watch it. The cancellations include Charlie's Angels, GCB, Man Up, Missing, Pan Am, The River, and Work It. And Desperate Housewives is off as well because their show ended.
So Whitney survived the cut?
Whitney is going to be moving to Fridays with Community. Yes. Good times. Fox.
Did you get that? Apparently my phone is not on silent.
Jeez Louise.
I thought there was a raid going on for a second.
Seriously. On Fox, the cancellations are Alcatraz, Alan Gregory, Breaking In, The Finder, I Hate My Teenage Daughter, and Terra Nova. And then House is ending as well. On the CW, cancellations include Ringer and The Secret Circle. And I guess One Tree Hill is ending as well. Then on CBS, A Gifted Man, CSI Miami, which is spreading, How to Be a Gentleman, NYC 22, Rob, and Unforgettable. I haven't heard of probably 3/4 of these shows that are getting canceled.
I was going to say, there's all the shows that I'm like, I didn't even know they were running, or shows that, like The Ringer, I didn't realize that had already been on there. I know they talked about it and everything. I never saw a single episode.
Yeah, I think it went through an entire season, so way to pay attention, dude. All right, let's move on to the movies.
All right, so essentially what we're going to be doing as far as movies go is we are going to be one of the issues that we were having is how do we review movies with spoilers without kind of messing it up for people or keeping them from actually wanting to watch the show because they don't want to spoil the movie for themselves. So what Todd came up with, and I think will work, is we'll do 2 reviews. We'll do.
Go ahead and say I'm a genius. It's cool.
So we'll go ahead and do one short review in which we'll go spoiler-free, and we just basically kind of give our main oversight on that film. And then the following week's episode, we will actually cover it with spoilers for those of you that were interested in watching it. You have basically a week to watch it. And then after that, you can engage in the conversation, which, we should probably kind of talk a little bit. We are in Google Hangout, and we do want to get to a point where we're engaging the audience. So if you are watching the films, eventually we'll have chat rooms open. We'll have the ability for people to join in the conversation and ask questions, put in their input. So that's something that hopefully within the next few episodes we'll be able to roll out. And then the second review will be one with spoilers that we can openly talk about. So what we'll have today is a short spoiler-free review of 13 Assassins, which is a Takashi Miike film, Japanese film. And then we'll move on to The Avengers, which has been out for a while. And so I think we can pretty safely talk about it with spoilers and not really ruin it for anyone except for someone who's living under a rock.
Right.
All right.
Patrick Star.
Which is sad. I mean, we're ruining a movie for someone who's already a little down on their luck if they're living under a rock. But
They have a nice internet connection, though. So.
yeah, that's probably true. If they're watching this.
So if you want to go ahead and introduce 13 Assassins real quick.
Sure. It's Jusan Nin no Shikaku, and came out in 2010. It's directed, like you said, by Takashi Miyake, and it is about, drumroll please, 13 assassins. Basically, well, I don't know how much to give away, but there's an evil lord in Japan, and there's a kind of a split in the theory as to, some people say, you know, we have to do what he says because he's the leader, and even if we disagree with the way he runs things and the way he does things, it's too bad. That's the way it is. And then there's people that say, yes, we've been sworn allegiance to this person, but he's very evil and he's going to destroy the country unless we take him out of power. So these 13 assassins have decided to try and take him out of power. So that's the crutch of it. What did you think about it, Cisco?
It was an interesting film. I felt like, and I don't think I'm spoiling it by mentioning that it has a very similar feel to Seven Samurai. And so it becomes really difficult to not make comparisons between the two films. And I think in this circumstance that could be kind of detrimental to the film itself, because Seven Samurai is incredibly difficult to compare a film to because it's such a good film. And so with that in the back of my head, I continuously kept thinking of the various points at which this film fell short of that. So you kind of have to pull back and try not to compare it to the film that it seems to me pretty obvious it's doing an homage to. With that kind of taken aside, I thought the film was a little bit split within itself. It kind of has a split personality where it starts very dramatic and it has a very heavy historical feel. It seems like, and I'm not a historian, so I don't know how well the costuming was and how accurate it was, but it did certainly feel like it was pretty making an attempt at being historically accurate. And that kind of seems to be the first half of the film, and then the second half of the film just becomes a classic Takashi Miyake film where once the fighting starts, it just never really stops. And so it does kind of feel like a split film. But I thought that watching it all unfold, and the story itself is not overly complicated, so it's really simple to grasp. So for those people that are into or not into foreign films, because a lot of times they have a difficult time keeping up with the plot and the subtitles and everything all at once, I think this one's a really easy one to follow, so it's not going to be that difficult. And it's got plenty of great action. Some of the shooting, the shooting that is done, and the cinematography for this, the look of it is great. So I think there's a very high entertainment value for this film, and I think anyone that really has an interest in the samurai genre will probably find this pleasing. I would say it's a solid B.
Yeah. I tried as hard as I could not to compare it to Seven Samurai as well. I would hope that that's not what Miyake was going for. It is kind of a similar idea, but I think he did try to take it in a slightly different direction. I agree that it did feel like two films almost, but in the sense of 28 Days Later, if you took each individual half of that film, it's still enjoyable. It's just a matter of it changing pace significantly at a certain point in the movie. I really enjoyed it. It's very violent, so keep that in mind if violence is an issue for you, or if you're watching it with your kids or anything like that. I wouldn't
watch it with your kids,
yeah.
Period.
Yeah, there's specifically a scene that's kind of the instigation as to why these guys decide to go against the emperor, and it's very, very graphic. And we can talk more about that in spoilers next week. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would say B plus probably. I was surprised at how much emotional connection I had with the assassins by the end during the fight. Like, I really was rooting for them, and it wasn't just a fun fight to watch for the sake of watching a fight. So I recommend watching it, and we'll get into spoilers more next week.
Sounds good. So then moving on to the Avengers, which is the bread and butter for today. I think we can pretty much just lay out the facts. Obviously, this is directed by Joss Whedon, who everyone probably by now knows his name. This movie has... You don't think?
I don't think my mom knows his name.
Call her up. Let's find out.
All right, hold on just a second.
It's this big climactic film that was bringing up all of the other Marvel, a lot of the other Marvel films. It was bringing in the Iron Man films.
I just called your mom on accident.
You got her on speed dial.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that was an accident, Todd.
Way off topic. So yeah, it brings Captain America, it brings Thor, it brings Iron Man, and kind of leads them to this film. I guess Hulk to a certain extent, though they weren't using the same actor. So let's talk about it. What do you guys think?
Eric?
I thought it was fantastic. It was everything I wanted out of that movie. You know, I mean, I went in with very high expectations, and they were met. So I walked away very happy from that experience.
Was there anything that you would have changed?
Scarlett Johansson? No, I would have... No, actually, I probably wouldn't have had Hawkeye in the movie. I don't think he added anything to it. He was standing on buildings shooting arrows, you know, and then the arrows weren't even effective. I mean, Loki's catching them from him, you know, so it's like he brought nothing to the table. Scarlett Johansson, I mean, Black Widow actually did do stuff. So, yeah, I would take Hawkeye out of that equation.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit to remind people of what the topic was. Obviously, Loki, who is from Thor, the villain from the Thor film, comes back, and they're looking at the possibility of essentially bringing in an army that will allow him to gain power over our world and allow them to control a larger part of the universe. So he's kind of in cahoots with this alien race, and so what we're looking at is the Avengers kind of taking on this race that is pretty much looking to get rid of humans altogether. Ed, do you want to go next, Todd, or do you mind if I just go ahead?
You can go ahead. Save the best for last. That's fine.
Of course. I really like this film, and I think hands down it is probably the best Marvel film, superhero film, with the exception perhaps of Iron Man 1. I may have liked that one a little bit better. I'm not sure. They're definitely right there, so it's very hard for me to pick. I definitely enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it. I felt like it was the perfect way to wrap up the subpar films, which are Captain America and Thor, which I did not really care for. Thor, not very much at all. Captain America was passable. Iron Man 2 was eh. So I thought they were working with subpar material. But I think the great thing that this film does is it gets away with all the origin stories, and you don't have to put that in this film. So you can really focus on the main conflict without really having to wait to figure out, okay, who is Thor and where does he come from? Who is Captain America and where does he come from? So they kind of get away with just kind of hitting the ground running, which I thought was great that they did that.
It's almost like a sequel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at that point, you feel like you're already kind of invested in the characters. one thing that I felt was problematic, and this is a personal thing, so I know I'm probably going to get blasted by fanboys, but the problem is that it is the Avengers. And I always had a problem.
That is
with
a
the
huge
way.
problem. A movie called The Avengers about the Avengers.
Let me explain.
Okay.
You're right. It should have been the Justice League. You're right.
The way this group works is it's not a fair group. You have people like Scarlett Johansson, who's a super spy or whatever, and Hawkeye, who shoots arrows, next to Thor, who's a freaking god, and Iron Man, who might as well be, and Hulk, who pretty much is, right? These are like super powerful creatures next to basically ants next to them. Captain America is pretty much a wash because he doesn't really do much in the film itself. I actually thought...
Whoa.
I will stick to that.
You're lucky you're in another room right now, boy.
He pretty much felt to me like the most useless part of that film. Because he doesn't really bring anything to the table. And
You've awakened the Eric.
Except leadership.
Not really.
Oh, yes, really. He was
like
barking
what?
out orders to everybody. Towards the end of the film, everybody was listening to him, including
him being
including
a
Iron Man.
Doesn't make him a leader.
Oh.
You don't get. I never actually felt like he ever had really control of anything. He was kind of getting in everyone's face, but that just makes him kind of annoying. That doesn't really necessarily make him a leader. I never felt that from him. The funny thing was, I've never liked Thor, and I actually ended up liking him in this film. I never really cared for Hulk, and I really ended up liking him in this film. I thought this was actually one of the best Hulks I've seen from the various incarnations that they've done for that. But I did feel that Hawkeye kind of becomes wasted because his skills and the abilities that he could have used to help in the situations weren't really put to use. I do feel like Captain America and Black Widow could have been used to better use. I don't think the film really makes as much use of them as they could have. And so they're in that instance then overshadowed by Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man, who are head and above, the ones driving this entire film. And it sounds like a much bigger criticism than it is because I really do think this was a good film. I just have a problem with the way the Avengers are put together, and it really is felt in this film for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
I kind of had some similar issues with. I have that issue with the Avengers as well. Not so much that Scarlett Johansson's character and Jeremy Renner's character are in the group. Like, I'm fine with that. And Nick Fury is kind of in that same thing. Like, he's a human with a pistol. But I think that if they are more careful with how they tell the story, because we watch Black Widow interrogate Loki and get information from him and use her spy skills outside of this epic battle that takes place at the end. And so if they were to almost have some sort of situation where Hawkeye and Black Widow and possibly Nick Fury have to go off somewhere else and do some sort of Mission Impossible secret, break into this and get this information type mission while leaving these crazy aliens are attacking New York City, we need to kill hundreds and thousands of these things, to Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain America, then I would be okay with that. Like, I think the part that I had an issue with was that they just threw Hawkeye and Black Widow in and said, oh yeah, you guys go and fight all these aliens that all these other guys, and that's where it really showed that juxtaposition between the strength and power of these certain guys versus these humans with 9mm pistols or whatever, or arrows. So I think they could have used that a little bit better in the way they told the story. Captain America, I think, was a good part of the film, and I thought that the headbutting between Captain America and Iron Man was possibly my favorite aspect of the film. because Captain America is continually trying to be the leader of the group just naturally, and Iron Man is continually saying, I don't follow anyone, so, screw that. So
I actually think the conflict between all the characters, not just those two, was really well done throughout. I thought that really aided in the entire storyline. Going back a little bit to what you were saying, I think it is even possible to make Hawkeye and Captain America and perhaps Nick Fury and obviously Scarlett Johansson work a little bit better, even within the plot that they had, if they just simply, and we kind of discussed this earlier, obviously off screen, but if they had just kind of closed down their field of battle so that then they can use their agility, they can use their speed, which is where they excel at, instead of finding this big open spaces, put them in close quarters in where they can use their advantages that Hulk and Thor and Iron Man do not have, which will give them kind of that separation of importance.
Right, and that would work as well. And I think Captain America's strongest point in that final battle was when he went in to save those hostages at the bank, and they had the grenade, and he used his shield in a really clever way. And I see his character as being that aspect of it. Whereas Hulk, he doesn't care if he steps on a couple humans as he's, fighting or whatever. But Captain America's MO during those battles will be, we're destroying all these buildings and stuff like that. Someone needs to be running around saving the people while all of these super powerful people are destroying everything. Mm-hmm. So I think that would have been a good role to kind of thicken. My main two complaints coming out of the film, and I agree with you, I love the film. I've seen it twice already. I'm planning on seeing it a third time in the theater. So my complaints are, whatever. They're right. Complaints, but I still love the film. My two complaints was I did feel that Scarlett Johansson got a little too much screen time, which I can't believe I'm saying that. Well, right, I figured. But as far as story-wise, I just felt it gave a little too much strength to her character, and not enough to, I would say, Thor, considering his brother or supposed brother is the main bad guy in the film. The other issue I had, and I've talked about this with Francisco, was the transition of the Hulk when he first became the Hulk in that first battle up on the airship to the Hulk becoming the Hulk in the final battle is night and day. And we don't see that transition to explain why in the first transition he turns into the Hulk and he's just nutso and he's trying to kill Black Widow and and Thor, and he's just attacking everything. It's just this wild storm of destruction, which was awesome. I loved it. And then in the second one, you have the Hulk, and he's got not complete control, granted, but I would say 80 to 90% control of what he's doing and who he's hurting, and taking orders from Captain America like it's no big thing. And by the end of the battle, he's standing around with the rest of them, he's not destroying anything. He's hoping that Iron Man wakes up, and at the very end, when Loki wakes up, he's standing in the background, striking a pose. So he has pretty good control in that final battle. And the only difference between the two is he falls from the sky, and then he rides a motorcycle up to the battle already happening. So what happened in that time that suddenly gave Hulk zero control to 80 to 90% control while he was the Hulk? That right as I came out of the movie, that was the first thing in my head. That was I didn't really understand why that happened. And I liked the Hulk in both. I liked him being crazy, not controlling anything, and I liked him being able to have mostly control. It's the transition that I think was missing.
Well, I think the first time, remember there was explosions, and he wasn't in control of being able to turn into the Hulk. He was losing his control. He was trying to calm down. Black Widow's trying to calm him down, but he lost control. And I think that's the mindset that he went into with becoming the Hulk. And then the other time, he told Captain America and everybody, he goes, "I'm always angry." And then he just turned around and turned into the Hulk. So I think he has control over it. when he lost control the first time, that's what the Hulk was.
That's kind of how I understood it as well. And to me, I didn't really have a problem with that because that's how I read it, and I think that's how they intended it to be. That the first time it's a change that's provoked on him, and he doesn't really get an opportunity to put it under his control. And then the second time, they make it a point to show that he is making a willing choice to turn into this beast. And granted, he doesn't have full control of the beast. He still punches Thor, and he still does his random crazy things. But he does show that he meant to get to that point, and I felt like the movie showed it. So I don't know that I had too much of a problem with that.
And also, if you remember from Incredible Hulk, you both saw that, right?
Yeah.
The Edward Norton one. At the end of the movie, he's doing his breathing and trying to, his meditation, and at the very end of it, he turns into the Hulk again because he sort of had some sort of control over it. He forced himself to turn into the Hulk while he was meditating. And for all intents and purposes, this was supposed to be Edward Norton in this movie. So it's that Hulk from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, after talking to people afterward and have that explained, the way he became the Hulk helps, and I don't know if that's a common thing from the previous movie or from the comics or whatever. I've never read a Hulk comic, and I know that he doesn't have complete control when he's the Hulk. I didn't see it. I didn't see that was clear. After it was explained to me, I was like, okay, that makes sense as to why it played out that way. I still didn't think it was made very clear in the movie. I think, one line somewhere could have explained that, and that would have been it, and I would have been 100% okay with it, and it would have been fine. So,
the pistols, though, there is that to mention too. Nick Fury with little handguns. No.
Well, and the funny thing about that is it almost seemed like Joss Whedon was making fun of the fact that all they had was pistols too, because at the very beginning when Loki steals the Tesseract and he's flying away, not at that point. It's when they call in the airplane to do the nuke strike on New York, and he comes out with the rocket launcher and takes out one of the F-22s. And then he sees another one going, and he runs over with his pistol, trying to take down an F-22 that's going full speed off the side of this airship. And it's like, and there was another part in the beginning where he pulls his pistol out. I think it's when the car was like really far away, and he's like going to take the car out or something. And he like pulls out this little PP Walther or whatever that was. I was like, really? Like, even if you had dead shot like Hawkeye, you couldn't take that out. Like, it was almost a joke. Like, it was like, what are you going to do with that? And then the part that was in the trailer that they also used in that final battle where they all kind of conglomerated on the street, and you have the Hulk standing there and Iron Man slowly flying down and Thor swinging his hammer and the camera's spinning around, and then it gets to Black Widow and she like drops her cartridge and puts another one in the pistol. Like, it was like, are you kidding me? Like, we just see Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, even Captain America with his, super shield, whatever. And then it gets to her, and then Hawkeye's like putting an arrow in, and it's like, this doesn't match, guys. Like, the Hulk could sneeze, and Black Widow would die.
The next point that I want to bring up, this is going to be pretty heavy spoilers, so if you're watching this far and the spoilers haven't really done much to shy you away from it, this will be big spoiler because this is one of the scenes that comes in after the credits. This is the first of the two after scenes. And actually, I'm probably going to be gearing this more to you, Eric, because I know you have a little bit more knowledge on this. Do you have any insight as to where that might be going with the whole Infinity Gauntlet? Because that looks like Thanos to me.
Yeah, it is Thanos. I could see the Infinity Gauntlet coming into play for the next movie. That would definitely be big enough to call in the Avengers for that,
And we did get a glimpse of that in Thor. the Infinity Gauntlet was in the Hall of...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that. Now, do you know, I don't know, and this is open to either of you, do either of you know if there is any plans to bring in Spider-Man into this whole...
No, Spider-Man, the Spider-Man rights are with Sony. And so as long as Sony is making Spider-Man movies, Marvel doesn't have the right to make Spider-Man movies. That's why that's why we have that new Spider-Man movie coming out this summer. You know, Sony isn't going to give up those rights. They're going to be making Spider-Man movies until the end of time.
Is that why you're not going to go see that? That's why you're refusing? It's because it's Sony? Or is it because you hate Spider-Man?
It's because I hate Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I remember correctly, though, Spider-Man was a big part of the Infinity Gauntlet story, right?
He was in the Infinity Gauntlet. I wouldn't call him a big part.
Huh.
I remember I think he died at one point, and then they brought him back to life with the Infinity Gauntlet or something like that. I mean, because Spider-Man battling cosmic entities would be the equivalent of Black Widow and Hawkeye and the Avengers, you know. So
right. Yeah, adding Spider-Man to the group, I don't know, would really strengthen it. That I would put him more on par with Hawkeye and
that was where my question was. It's like, you know, because I honestly can't see Spider-Man, Hawkeye, Captain America fighting, you know, this outer space beings. They just are a joke. So I was wondering if there was any plans to bring that in, because I think that would only make things worse.
I've heard that they're considering bringing in the character Arachnid Boy, but I don't know if that's just a rumor or not.
That would be awesome.
You know who they really need if they're going to fight Thanos? They should get Green Lantern.
No, they should not.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds, dude, come on.
They need Deadpool.
I don't know how good he would do in space.
Yeah, I'm not sure he would do anything. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the review on this, unless there's any other comments that you guys wanted to bring up.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Eric,
right.
do you want to promote your stuff?
Oh, I just have a new album coming out this summer. I just got the proof of it 2 weeks ago, signed up on it. Everything's good. It's going into production right now. It should be coming out, like I said, within the next 3 months. And it's called Secret Identity. It ties in with the superhero theme. So just, keep a lookout for that.
Where's that going to be available? Do you know?
Where's it not going to be available?
Oh!
Snap, son! Hopefully it's not available in your toilet. Yeah.
Well, you asked the question, so I'm just throwing that it might not be available in the toilet.
Right. You're right.
And this just went down the toilet, so let's go ahead and flush this one out.
But you, honestly, like you plan for it to be on like Amazon and iTunes and all that stuff.
Yes, it's going to be. I mean, that's what Tate, the label. That's what they've been telling me, that it's going to be happening.
Cool.
It's like a demand type thing, also depending on what stores would carry it and whatnot. So.
Sure.
Very cool. Well, hopefully that'll do well. I personally want to see this obviously go well, because I produced 2 tracks in that, so I'm a little invested. But yeah, good luck with that. And
I produced that many.
All right, we'll see you next week. If you get an opportunity to watch 13 Assassins, watch it. We will be discussing it with greater detail, and we will have another movie for you to review spoiler-free so that you have some time to watch it.
Peace.
And visit our website, foxholefilm.com. News in there, and obviously you'll find this cast in there or in our iTunes page or wherever it ends up going.
Sounds good.